Hi guys, it's Brittany. It's been a while. I've just been thinking a lot about my story as a type 1 diabetic and everything I've gone through, and I just wanted to share it because I feel like everyone's story is so different. But I've been type 1 diabetic since I was 7. I'm now 25, so that's 18 years. Um, I was diagnosed at 7. I had the symptoms that are pretty classic, the really thirsty, using the toilet a lot. Then I lost a lot of weight. I think I lost 20 pounds when I was 7 years old, which is scary, I'm sure, to see. And then I ended up going into a coma. I was in a coma for 7 days when I was 7. The doctors literally had no clue what was wrong with me. My body was just shutting down, which is also known as DKA. I'm not sure why it took them 7 days to figure that out. Since they're doctors, I feel like it could have been found out easy just with a finger prick. My sugar, I think, was in the 800s or 900s, which is definitely out of range because your sugar is supposed to be between like 80 to 110 if you're non-diabetic. So for me to be 7 years old with the 800, 900 blood sugar, it literally caused my body to start shutting down my organs, hence the coma. So finally someone figured it out, and they told me I had diabetes type 1, also known as juvenile diabetes. My little sister, Brooke, when she found out, she thought I was going to die because it was called diabetes. But Brooke, I'm still here. You can't get rid of me that easy. But for a little 7-year-old's life to be changed so abruptly, I feel like it's definitely caused me to be a more stressed out, cautious, more planned out person because of it. I could never just go play. I'd have to think, where's my tester? Do I have juice? Or like, how do I feel? I had to check in with myself a lot to see how I felt because we didn't have continuous glucose monitors back then. So that kind of took away some of my childhood, just having to be so aware. Finger pokes, shots. I went on the Medtronic pump, I think, when I was 10, and I was on it until I was probably 18. So 8 years on Medtronic. I got the Omnipod when I was 19, I guess. I'm bad at numbers and years. They all blur together. And I got the Dexcom when I was about 21. The Dexcom has been a huge lifesaver, like I've mentioned in my past videos. And I can't imagine life without it. Just that 2-hour warm-up, I feel so lost and freaked out because I'm not as in tune with my body as I used to be when I was little. I was the first person in my family to get type 1 diabetes. Literally no one in my whole family had ever gotten it, in both sides of my family. So I was the first, and then my cousin Heaven and Crystal got it soon after me, and we're all the firstborn girls of the family, which I think is pretty weird. And then no one else has been diagnosed until my uncle, who is around 45 years old. He was just recently diagnosed with type 1 as well, which is kind of where being diagnosed at that age, it usually shows up when you are juvenile, hence juvenile diabetes. But the truth is, you could be diagnosed at any age. There's nothing you could do to stop it. It just happens, and there's no cure either, which is a bummer. They are working on it. I remember when I was little, they were like, "Don't worry, don't even get used to it. Like, there's gonna be a cure, like in a few years. Like, don't accept this as your normal." 18 years later, there's still no cure. They keep saying the same thing. So, I mean, it's hard to cure something when there's such a high price associated with it. I saw this thing on Facebook that was like a cured patient equals like a loss of money or something, which is ridiculously sad. That is the world we're living in, if you ask me. Another thing I wanted to bring up was DKA, which is a coma. I had one when I was 7. I went into a coma. And then when I was 19, I went into another coma. My parents always kind of took control of my diabetes for me. And then at 18, 19, I kind of was refiguring it out, doing it my way, not listening do everything I should have been listening to because it's exhausting. You never get a break, and I just wanted a break. So me and my boyfriend then, now husband, went to Mexico for spring break just to get away. We worked hard in our classes and just wanted to have a break. A few days into our Mexico trip, I started throwing up, and me being me, I was like, oh, it's probably the food. You know, the ice is bad. I had a margarita yesterday, which had ice in it. It's probably just from Mexico and the lack of cleanliness, and their food isn't really safe, and nothing about diabetes even crossed my mind. I was on shots then, so I kind of forgot to do insulin because without having something attached to you, you just kind of forget sometimes. I was just trying to relax and have a great time with my boyfriend and enjoy Mexico. The day we were supposed to leave, I had woken up and I couldn't see. Everything was white. I walked out of the hotel room. I had to have my husband carry me. And the next thing I know, I was back in the United States in the hospital. A few days later, I had woken up. My husband, on the drive home, thank God he was smart enough because I told him just to bring me home. I thought I was just sick, but he brought me to the hospital, and he drove like through barrier things he shouldn't probably have done, but he saved my life. And at the checkpoint to go back to America, they thought I was on drugs and were like checking my arms for needle marks and all sorts of crazy things. And my husband was trying to explain to them that I needed to go to a hospital because I was in a coma. And my husband didn't really know a lot about diabetes. He kind of threw himself into this crazy world of diabetes. When he first found out I was diabetic, he actually went online and just researched everything about type 1 diabetes, and I never really had to explain it to him. He just went out on his own, and he wanted to know more about me, which is really sweet. And I thank God for him because I would have gone home and went to bed not thinking it was diabetes related. And I feel like any little problem we have is probably diabetes related. I'm always like, dry skin, it's diabetes. So I was in a coma, and they called my mom, and my mom's like, I don't really want to have to drive from Las Vegas to San Diego. Like, is she going to be okay? And the doctor told her that if I do wake up, that I probably wouldn't be able to see. And that's super serious and that she needs to come. So my mom came down, my dad and everyone. And I was in a coma for a few days, and when I woke up, my husband was just there watching funny shows, waiting until I was okay. But it's scary how just taking a break for a day could mean life or death for us. So I wanted to share that story because diabetes is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. And even if you take off half a day, you could end up in a coma or dead. So that's part of my story. Now I'm 25. I am managing my sugars a lot better now. But it's really hard when you have all this stuff going on in your life, like school and work and, husband, boyfriend, whatever you have, and your dogs, and you're trying to have a social life, and self-care. I don't even know what self-care is. Self-care is me trying to keep myself alive, honestly, every day. Between site changes and high blood sugars and ketone checks, and it's so much work. And like I said before, I'm not trying to get famous or anything from this. I just have always felt like I was alone, and I don't think I am. So I'm putting this out there so other people know that you can struggle, but there's other people going through it. I'm an emotional wreck always. I can cry about anything. I cry about Netflix like on the weekly, so ignore the tears. And now my biggest advice to people is to go listen to the Juicebox podcast. I have an episode on there. It's called Not Bold Brit, but all of them are great. He teaches you just to be bold with insulin and not be afraid of it, and not to trade today for tomorrow, because the more managed you are now, the better future you have. So check him out. His name is Scott Benner, and his daughter's name is Arden. He's super inspirational and has some great things to say. He also does interviews with people from Dexcom and Omnipod, which I have both of them, so I find it really intriguing. But because of him and my husband also, I've been more serious about my sugars and just trying to stay more in control of my disease and letting it control me. So I just try to be more positive and be bold, which is hard sometimes because diabetes can knock you on the floor, but you got to get back up. And if you ever need someone to talk to, I am just a click or email away. Thanks for listening. I think that's all I have to say. But I will hopefully be back sooner than later. Thanks.